afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to the kingdom. Just a very quick quiz for you this afternoon. Does anybody recognize this person? Yeah, I believe some of you do. This is Professor Dan Ariely. He's a psychology and behavioral economist professor at Duke University. For those of you who had the privilege to hear him speak before, you're probably familiar with his terrifying story about the day he got burned during his senior year at high school while preparing fire inscription for his youth movement night ceremony. It's surprising to hear Professor Ariely describing his healing process, referring to surgery days as good days, as easy days, compared to all other days where his bandages had to be replaced. For those of us who are within the wound care market, it's actually not surprising at all. So let's take a peek back to history. One of the oldest manuscripts of wound care, dated back to 2200 before Christ, appearing actually on a clay tablet, refers, perhaps for the first time, regarding the healing gestures of cleaning and bandaging using mixture of clay, herbs, and plants. The ancient Egyptians were using honey to cover wounds. And Socrates, the Greek physician, was known to use wine and fig leaves to cover wounds. The principles of wound care practice today have not changed much. Still applying bandaging over open wounds, requiring frequent changes, ripping off the tissue over and over again. Not only being immensely painful, as Professor Dan Ariely describes, but also exposing the wound to infection and disrupting, actually, the healing process. My name is Dr. Chen Barak, and I'm the CEO of Nanomedic Technologies. And what we have been doing in the last 5 years is developing the Spinker, a revolutionary system that disrupts the way wounds are being treated, basically challenging the principles dated back thousands of years ago. So the question is how we do that. This is the Spinker. It's a portable electrospinning system that sort of prints a very thin temporary skin layer on the wound in real time. This layer remains on the wound throughout the healing process. Just imagine that instead of applying a piece of fabric on the wound, we apply from a distance and without touching the wound a very thin layer of nanofibers that biomimic the structure of the human tissue. And again, this layer remains on the wound, no need to remove, no need to replace. It sounds a little bit like science fiction, and maybe it does a little bit. You remember the medical ray gun used in the Star Trek series back then? With no intent, there is some resemblance. But really, enough talking. I really want us to show you how it works, and thereby I want to invite to the stage Mr. Nimrod. You all have seen him as a great moderator, but now he's becoming a volunteer. And Dr. Claudia Barzilai, my VP R&D, and they will help me here while I explain to show you really how it works. In order for all of us to get into the right atmosphere, I want to throw us into an emergency situation. Imagine a fire in Oxford Street. Nimrod is rushed into the nearest hospital with a burn injury. A young doctor is grabbing the Spinker out of the shelf and work it towards his wound. Now, just like an espresso machine, our system is built of the device that you see right now and a disposable capsule. The disposable capsule will go into the machine, and afterwards, the devices work towards the wound like Claudia is doing. What you see is actually a very thin layer of nanofibers as it is created on Nimrod's head. Maybe you can show it to him. Od lamata. Yeah. And you can see how accurate it sits on Nimrod's hands and how we catch all the really tiniest details of the skin. And this is all. It's a very, very thin layer of nanofibers. So first of all, you can see this layer of nanofibers. First of all, it arrives completely dry, but also it allows people to go back to their normal life as quickly as possible, taking their daily showers as usual, keeping their mobility, and at the end, it peels off by itself, leaving an excellent scarring. Thank you, Nimrod. Thank you, Claudia. So this is actually what you have seen on Nimrod's hand. This is actually a temporary skin layer. It's a protective, permeable and breathable layer that will stay on the hand until it's healed. So now I want to go briefly to discuss some numbers. We are talking about the wound care market. I guess everybody expected to be very big. I don't know what these lines are, but we are talking about a market of more than $42 billion by 2024 and a consistent growth of 6%. With our current with our current system, we already address more than 60% of this market. So where are we now? Where are we today? Nanomedic is actually getting ready to launch the system in Europe early 2020. We are already started the FDA process, reaching out to the clearance in the US, and we are working on our three-way expansion plan, starting with the platform technology, developing our excellent pipeline of capsules containing healing additives, all the way start from antibacterial to cell therapy, approaching additional clinical applications such as dermatology, surgery, aesthetics, and of course, leveraging on our portability, addressing market segments that are beyond hospitals. So we will be in the clinics, we will be in emergency services, we will be in schools, in military uses, and eventually in home care. So I would like to thank you for this opportunity. If you wish to join us in changing the way millions of people today are being treated, please join the skincare revolution, join the Nanomedic team, and come to speak to us. Thank you.